Councilmember Madeline Scales Harris has our prayer and pledge this evening. Ms. Harris.
Thank you, Mayor. May we bow our heads? Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you just thanking you for so many things that we take for granted each day, like shelter, food, our families, our jobs. We just thank you for that, Lord. We thank you for the many veterans who have served and are still serving, that we have the freedoms that we have today, Lord. And Lord, we ask a special blessing on the ones that have lost loved ones. We pray for the Young family, Mr. Doug Young, who lost his mother this week, and all others that are grieving, Lord. We ask a special prayer for them. And Lord, I just want to ask a special prayer for my mother. That's in quite a bit of pain. Lord, I just ask you to be a healer for her, Lord, and I just ask that she not suffer, Lord, and I just thank you for the opportunity that you have given me to be a legacy on this council throughout my term. And Lord, I thank you for the fact that you've even allowed me to sit in the seat in the position that she sat in, Lord. I just ask a special prayer for her and all over our city. This is my prayer, I ask in your darling son's name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome to Murfreesboro City Council, July 25th, 2013. Certainly, Ms. Harris, we all share those thoughts with Mr. Young and with your family, and we appreciate their service and how much all of those folks have meant to our city, and Mr. Young, especially to your mother in her passing. All of us feel a sense of loss because she made you such a darling, handsome, wonderful person, and you wouldn't be here if she hadn't been such an outstanding mama. So our thoughts are with you in her passing. All right, council members, I must not forget that today is Roger Haley's birthday. July 25th, 1943, 45, who can remember? But anyway, I just pass along birthday greetings to Mr. Haley. He certainly left a strong legacy for our community. But council members, you have before you your consent agenda. If you've had an opportunity to look through that consent agenda, are there any questions regarding it?
Not, Mayor. I move for adoption of the consent agenda.
Thank you. Mr. Gilley?
Second.
Mr. Young, second. Please call the roll. Ms. Wright, nice to have you back.
Thank you. Mr. Gilley?
Aye.
Ms. Scales Harris?
Aye.
Mr. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mayor Bragg?
Aye. You also have the minutes of the July 11th special meeting and the July 11th, 2013 regular meeting before you. Are there any questions, comments, additions, or deletions to those minutes as they are presented?
The minutes were presented wonderfully, as they always are, and I move that we accept them.
Thank you, Mr. Smotherman.
Second.
All right, Mr. Gilley seconds. Thanks very much. Please call the roll, Ms. Wright.
Mr. Gilley?
Aye.
Ms. Scales Harris?
Aye.
Mr. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mayor Bragg?
Aye. At this time, we'll consider for passage on third and final reading an ordinance amending Chapter 29 Schools, Section 29-2 regarding compensation of school board members.
So moved.
Mr. Gilley, thank you.
Second.
Mr. Smotherman, seconds. Please call the roll.
Mr. Gilley?
Aye.
Ms. Scales Harris?
Aye.
Mr. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mayor Bragg?
Aye. At this time, we'll consider for passage on second reading an ordinance to rezone an area located along Memorial Boulevard to Highway Commercial, CH District, and Commercial Fringe, CF District.
Move for passage on second reading. Second.
Thank you. A motion, Washington, and a second by Mr. Young. Please call the roll.
Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
Aye. At this time, we'll consider for passage also on second reading an ordinance amending the PRD located along Memorial Boulevard.
Move for passage on second reading.
Second.
Mr. Washington, Mr. Young, thank you. Please call the roll.
Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland. Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
Aye. At this time, we'll consider recommendations of the city engineer with regards to contract for construction of roads and utilities associated with the proposed elementary school in West Murfreesboro. Mr. Griffith, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Bragg and members of the council. At your meeting on February 28th, you approved the design of nearly 2,700 linear feet of mostly new roads and utilities in association with the proposed elementary school site in West Murfreesboro. The road utility system begins near the intersection of Moreland Lane and Veterans Parkway and will extend east then north to the proposed school site as indicated on the attached layout plan. I might mention, I've mentioned noted in my letter some names of the roadway. Those are just from proposed naming that, and actually I think one of them actually had just school, and that's not the actual. Those haven't been accepted or haven't been brought before the Planning Commission for final approval. Swanson Development has, the city will be responsible for the construction of the roads labeled Kingdom Drive and West School Road, and then Swanson Development has agreed to construct the road labeled Charity Street, which will extend from near the school back to Veterans Parkway and will complete the loop there. The utility construction will include water, sanitary sewer, and underground conduit for electric, phone, cable television, and internet. Construction of the new schools was awarded to Robert S. Biskin Construction, and work began in June of this year. 8 bids were received on July 16th for the construction of the new roads and utilities, and a low total bid in the amount of $2,070,947.03 was submitted by Summit Constructors of Nashville, Tennessee. We've included a copy of the tabulated bids and also a list of Summit's recent project that's been completed in the Middle Tennessee area. Staff and our consultant, Huddleston Steel Engineering, are satisfied the Summit is capable of completing this project within the specified contract time. The most recent estimate completed by Huddleston Steel Engineering for the road and utilities was about $2 million, so we're pretty close to that. The construction of the roads and utilities will be funded by the 2012-2013 TML loan for the new elementary school. Actually have a correction on the recommendation. As you see there, it says highways. Actually, we do recommend awarding the contract to Summit Constructors subject to the review and approval of the agreement by the city attorney. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for the city's engineer regarding this recommendation?
Question, Mayor.
Mr. Young.
If approved, when are they going to start on this?
Usually takes
30 days, 60 days?
Usually takes about 30 days to get the contracts in order. We won't take as much advantage of the construction season, the good weather that we have, so we'll be pushing it for a 30-day construction time, and our 30-day construction start with the completion set for late spring, early summer of next year.
Well before the school's finished.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? All right, you have this recommendation.
Move for approval.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Young and Mr. Washington. Please call the roll.
Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
Aye. Thank you,
you,
Mr.
sir.
Griffith. This time we'll consider recommendations of the Planning Commission to schedule public hearings to consider rezoning 8.5 acres along South Malloy Lane to H1, rezoning 1.13 acres along East Main Street, CH, and .63 acres along Arnett Street, CH. PUD, a PUD amendment, 18.9 acres along Hillwood Drive, annexation petition, 27 acres along Veterans Parkway, rezoning 10.6 acres along Veterans Parkway to CH, simultaneous with annexation, and rezoning 16.4 acres along Veterans Parkway, simultaneous with annexation. Mr. Adelot, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Bragg, members of the council. During its regular meeting on July 10th, the Plan Commission conducted public hearings on the items that the mayor just listed. The Plan Commission has recommended approval of all of these. The council has recommended to schedule these for public hearings before it considers ordinances on them. We need to decide a public hearing date.
Ms. McGannon.
Mayor, I would suggest August 22nd.
August 22nd. Council members, does that meet with your approval?
It is a Thursday.
It is a Thursday, so it's a good start.
Move we set public hearings for August 22nd, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Gilly. Is there a second? Mr. Young, please call the roll.
Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adelot. This time we'll consider recommendations of the Parks and Recreation Commission. A, an agreement with Lowson Associates for A&E services for Westview Mini Park renovation. B, agreement with Lowson Associates for A&E services for indoor tennis facility and Old Fort Park site master plan. C, an agreement with Johnson & Bailey Architects PC for A&E services for McFadden Community Center. D, a contract with Kimley Horn and Associates for engineering services for West Park. And E, Downtown in Motion. Welcome, Mr. Goodman.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. I do have 5 items for your consideration. The first is the Westview Mini Park development. Westview Mini Park is located on 111 February Street at the corner of February and Smith. It is a 1.4-acre site. We are proposing to redevelop that site. There are some limited playground equipment there now, but what we're planning to do is put a new playground there, put some natural elements, including some individual play sites, and do some landscaping, and put a walking path around the site. The walking path would serve as our ADA accessibility to all the amenities that we would put at that site. We did, some time ago, apply for a local Parks and Recreation grant through the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation for $75,000 to match the $75,000 that we had in our CIP to make a total project of $150,000. We did receive the grant. The council did adopt a resolution to match that funding, which was included in the grant. We are recommending that the City of Murfreesboro enter into an agreement with Lowson Associates for architectural engineering services for the renovation of the Westview Mini Park. The A&E services would include the site design, plan development, bidding documents, and construction administration for the project. The cost of the service would be a lump sum of $9,850, which would include 10 hours of utility coordination. And then we have also asked for an additional up to and not to exceed $4,000 if the utility coordination takes more time. There is a TVA power line that goes right through the property, and we're going to have to coordinate with TVA and make sure that the development that we put at this particular park doesn't conflict with any of their rules and regulations. And we think that may take some time, so that's why we put that additional in there. On July the 3rd, 2013, the Parks and Recreation Commission unanimously approved this proposal, and we are recommending that the City Council approve the agreement for the A&E services for Westview Mini Park with Lowson Associates in the amounts stated. And I'd be glad to answer any questions relative to Westview Mini Park.
Any questions, Mr. Goodwin, regarding this recommendation?
Oh.
Mr. Young.
Are there any phone lines that have to be moved in this?
I couldn't say for sure, but I don't think there is. But that TVA power line is, it just cuts it in half. So that's our main concern.
I'll let you deal with them.
Usually it takes a lot longer, Mr. Young, to move a phone line.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything
I
else?
want to approve these one at a time.
Yes.
Mayor, I move for approval of these items presented by the Parks and Recreation Director.
That's on item A.
Yes, sir.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Ms. Harris, thank you. Please call the roll.
Mr. Gelly.
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
Aye.
The second item that I have for you is an agreement for architectural engineering services for an indoor tennis facility and site master plan at Old Fort Park. Middle Tennessee State University and the City of Murfreesboro are working in partnership to build an indoor tennis facility at Old Fort Park. MTSU has led a fundraising effort which includes commitments from the Christy Houston Foundation. An agreement will be formulated between MTSU and the City of Murfreesboro, in which the Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Department will operate, manage, and maintain the facility, and MTSU will have priority times designated for usage. To do this, Mayor and members of the council, we knew that this was a complex design. We want to make sure that it meets all the collegiate standards. So what we did is we put out what we call a RFQ, which is a request for qualifications. And we ask specifically for certain things within that RFQ. We had 5 people or 5 firms to respond to the RFQ. We said if we qualify those folks with the RFQ, then what we would do is we would move forward and send them a request for proposals, an RFP, to respond to the project itself. We had 4 to respond to the RFP, and those are listed in your materials. The various services that we looked at that were needed for the construction are listed there: the topographic surveys, the geotechnical testing, the tennis programming and schematic, which is really one of the key pieces of getting in and designing and looking at what is needed in that particular facility, making sure that all the measurements are correct, that it can fit USTA standards, it can meet collegiate standards, and we feel like we have a good team to do that. The other things that you see in the list, one that I want to point out, the construction administration is listed as a price is not to exceed. We did that because we knew that through the construction of the facility that there would be key times that we would need to bring in those experts and make sure that the facility is being constructed exactly to plan. One of them that I can mention is the surfacing for the tennis courts themselves. Making sure that that is put down in the proper manner is the key, really, to the playing surface for the tennis courts. The cost of the service is $261,920, plus the costs associated with the travel for the tennis consultants and necessary construction administration, and of course normal reimbursement. We included in there $15,000 for a site master plan for the park, which we really think is key. Anytime that you bring in another facility into a park, we need to look and make sure that we're not impacting the park. We need to look at the parking. We need to look at the pedestrian flow. We need to look at the traffic flow. There's a lot of things that are associated with that just to make sure that the park still functions well when we start getting our visitors there. The proposed facility will be built in the same place as the old Ag Center. We will demo the old Ag Center and construct the indoor tennis courts with 8 courts and all the support facilities. The work is proposed in 2 phases. First, we will bid the demolition phase and do the site work. Second, we will do the construction of the facility. We anticipate that the construction of the facility will be completed somewhere around the 1st of September in 2014. It is a recommendation of the Parks and Recreation Commission They unanimously approved this on July the 3rd, and we are recommending to the city that they enter into an agreement with Lawson Associates for the A&E work for the indoor tennis courts and the site master plan. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
I just have a comment.
Ms. Harris, yes.
Mayor and fellow council members, I have done a little research on this project, and I understand that it's been a couple of fundraisers, and they've raised already a little over $2 million for this facility, and it's going to be eventually a generated activity for our city. And the fact that I think this week we are having a tennis tournament here, right?
Yes, ma'am, this weekend.
And if it rains out, it would not be a place for them to have. So I think this is a great idea. And also the fact that your department is going to maintain it, and you all do a fabulous job on all your projects. So if no other comments, I would like to move that we recommend this.
All right.
We approve this recommendation, I'm sorry.
All right, you have a second. Motion second. Other questions, comments, Mr. Smotherman?
I do have one question. I know we're tearing down the Ag Center, the old Ag building.
Correct.
Just in front of that, we've got Ray Duffy Field, the
Correct.
baseball fields. Will those be destroyed as well?
We think that it will fit on the footprint that's above the ball fields.
Okay.
But that's one of the reasons, Mr. Smotherman, that we want to look at the master plan.
Okay.
Because we know that when we build the facility, we're going to need additional parking, and depending on how much of that, because we've got some utilities that run through there. There's a major sewer line that comes through. There's a water line on the back. We have to look at all of that. So we have to look at the placement of the facility, and then we have to look at how the support facilities like parking and so forth go around it. So that's the whole purpose of doing that. Our intent is not to tear that down, but
I just know aesthetically, I think the building that I saw a rendering of is absolutely beautiful, and it'll be a nice amenity driving into the city of Murfreesboro on Old Fort Parkway there. But my concern, and the reason I asked the question, is Ray Duffy was such a role player in the development of Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation. I don't want his name to get lost there. So and I guess the consideration I would like is if we do remove those fields, that we name another field in his honor.
We will.
or
And we've already talked about that, Mr. Smotherman, some of the things that we need to do, and we recognize that's Ray Duffy Field, and has been. A lot of people kind of call it going to Duff Field. So Duffy was an institution here.
Absolutely.
And we'll make sure that he's recognized.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Duffy ended my baseball career early by saying I was too small, too slow, and couldn't catch a ball that came out of center field.
Couldn't hit a curveball either.
There was
Don't you hate it when people are completely honest, Mayor?
I couldn't hit anything. So,
And pretty well a golf ball.
well, we played over there where the Murfreesboro Athletic Club is, and that was whatever that field was called.
Grantland Rice Field.
Grantland Rice
Grantland
Field,
Rice.
and I think it had one street light that lit it up for nighttime playing, as I recalled, and I think that may have been why I wasn't such a good player. That light got in my eyes. But all of us remember Mr. Duffy, and I think that's an excellent suggestion, and I'm sure Parks and Rec will
We will.
deal with that.
We'll make sure
if
that
we
that
get to that
will do
location. Thank you, Mr. Smotherman, for bringing that up. Anything else? You have a motion by Ms. Harris, and the Vice Mayor seconded, so please call the roll, Ms. Wright.
Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
Aye. Please continue.
Yes, sir. The third item that I have is an architectural engineering agreement for services for McFadden Community Center renovation. Of course, McFadden Community Center was built in 1968, and since that time it's had general maintenance and some improvements. But what we're recommending for the renovation is the re-roofing of the gym and the storage area that's connected to the gym, reworking the gym floor. We're going to do substantial HVAC work and replacing several of the units within the building. We're going to be replacing the vinyl floor tile in the building. replacing and installing some new doors, both interior and exterior in the building. And we're going to be improving the restrooms. Right now, there's 2 small restrooms that serve the entire building, and that's not adequate. There are 2 dressing rooms that most people don't see because they're used for storage. And since I've been with the department for 25 years, they've always been used for storage. So we're going to recapture that space. We're recommending that one of them be used to develop new restrooms for the facility. The other one would be a reception area because it is adjacent to the gym, the game room, and the hallway. It'll give us better visibility and better management of the facility, so we think that is a plus. Also, we'll do just some general improvements, some painting, some other things. We've got a small improvement to our entrance, and we're going to add a small shelter outside. Johnson & Bailey has estimated the total project cost of $612,663, which includes E&E services that will not exceed $52,377. There is currently $633,820 available excuse me, in the CIP fund to cover the expenses. The A&E services covers the site design, the construction documents, the bidding, and construction monitoring. On June the 5th, 2013, the Parks and Recreation Commission unanimously approved the proposal of the A&E services, and it is recommended to the city that we enter into a contract with Johnson & Bailey for the A&E services to renovate McFadden Community Center in the amount not to exceed $52,377. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions regarding this recommendation? If not, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Young and Mr. Gilly, thank you. Please call the roll.
Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland. Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
Aye.
All right, Mayor, members of the council, the fourth item is the engineering services contract for the West Park. This is the beginning of the process. What we did to seek out professional help in beginning this park is we put together a combined RFQ, RFP. We sought the services of professionals. We received 5 responses from different firms, and those firms are listed. After evaluating the proposals, the firm of Kimberly Horn and Associates scored the highest. Kimberly Horn used a team approach for the project to address the potential overall design and development of the park. And many of the partners are local firms, which we are excited about, that you can see listed. The RFP outlined that the park would be developed in 3 phases. The first phase would be devoted to obtaining the land necessary to meet the needs of the park development. The second phase would be devoted to the site master plan and to making sure that the land that we have fits the program for the city. And of course, we can't do the second phase until we acquire the land in the first phase. And then the third phase would be the construction. This proposal is only for phase 1. And in phase 1, the Kimberly Horn team would perform tasks for project coordination and prepare the land acquisition request for the property. After the proposals are submitted by the landowners, a summary letter would be prepared and submitted to the city outlining the results of the property search and the parcels to consider that would fit the request. The cost of the contract for phase 1 with Kimberly Horn and Associates is a lump sum fee of $24,500. An hourly rate for additional services is also included if future land evaluations are requested. Funds are allocated in the 2012 CIP for this portion of the project, And on April the 10th, 2013, the Parks and Recreation Commission approved the proposal by a majority vote. And it is a recommendation of the city that the City of Murfreesboro enter into a contract with Kimley Horn and Associates Incorporated for the first phase of the A&E services as outlined in the amount of $24,500 with an hourly rate for additional services as needed. Now, let me say this, if I could, before I take questions. What we're doing in trying to develop this park is number one, we want to make sure that if it is the wishes of the council to develop a new park in the western portion of the city, that we do it right. So what we're doing is we're creating steps so that there are decision points, and the first one will be, of course, getting the architectural engineering services to get the proposals so we can seek the land. Once those proposals come in from landowners, then that's a stopping point. That'll be the point that we can look at what is proposed from the landowners, the size, the scope, so forth of the land, so we can make a consideration. Do we want to move forward with evaluating the different parcels, which ones fit, what we need to do for expansion of our parks and recreation programs, and those would be the decisions that we would make at that point. If we picked a couple of sites, and it may be that we need to do the evaluations, we have the hourly rate in the proposal to do that. But that all that would be done in determining whether we wanted to go forward and purchase the land. Once the land is purchased, then we would move into Phase 2. Phase 2 would be pretty extensive public input, public meetings, trying to decide exactly what we need to put in that particular park. The city, my department, put together an assessment. The way we do assessments, Mayor and members of the council, is we look at the overall needs of the city, and we look at where we're short. We involve our athletic folks, we involve our recreation folks, we involve other folks. And also, we did a strategic plan 2.5 years ago that showed that we needed additional facilities. We also do a customer service satisfaction survey. We do one pretty much every year. If you look in your materials, there's about 2.5 pages of comments that came out of one of those surveys that was unsolicited, that asked for a park in that particular portion of the city. I've also supplied you other information in there that shows you kind of how we stack up against national standards for park facilities, and you can see where we're short in certain areas. So those are the things that we look in an overall assessment. But it's very important that when we go into the site master plan development, that we include all of the people that will be affected by the park to make sure that we get that right as well before we ever start with any construction phase of the park. So I just wanted to mention that in terms of where we're headed with the development of the park and how many decision points that we have ahead of us if we choose to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. Council members, you may have questions regarding this recommendation. Now would be a good time to bring those up.
Mayor, hearing no discussion, I'll move approval.
All right, Mr. Young, is there a second?
Mayor, I'll second that, but Lanny, again, would point out, this is just this initial phase as far as what goes on the park, what we do with it, that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Way down the
You know,
road to make the decision as to what's included or what's not included.
The size, the scope, what's included, what's not included, that was why I said what I
Right.
did, so that we know that this is just the beginning. And so there's going to be many decision points, and Dave Ramsey has this thing, he says, talking about taking baby steps, and that's what we're trying to do in the development of the park. We found that over the years, we've been very successful in developing parks, but we have been very strategic in the way we do that as well. And that's why I think that our parks are as successful as they are. We do involve the public extensively, the council extensively, the commission extensively, to make sure that we get it right the first time.
Lanny, I will comment that I'm sitting here looking at a map of the city of Murfreesboro, and it's kind of divided by the I-24. About a third of the city of Murfreesboro is now on the west side. And of course, we've got Siegel Park, McKnight Park, and Patterson Park all on the eastern side. And then on the western side, the only thing we have is Barfield Park, which is in the southern tip. And so this is an area that absolutely has been left kind of out of the loop as far as our parks go. And I know it's a difficult vote for all of us, because we know that the bigger numbers coming down the road, and this one's not this is not the one that's going to kill us here or hurt so bad, but but without vision and planning and looking at property and making those tough decisions, we would not have Siegel, McKnight, Patterson, and Barfield. And I agree with it's certainly the time to be looking, because I think the prices are still reasonable, hopefully. And so with that, I think that you're going in the right direction, and I appreciate what you're doing.
Mr. McFarland.
Mayor, I want to echo Councilman Smotherman that I think we all have heard over the last many years that there's the recreational opportunities that are west of 24 are really non-existent. And when you look at Cason Lane, Scales, you look at the new school that's going, the new West School, that there's just not anything out there that we have for our residents on that side. And Barfield really is more southern.
It is southern.
Yeah, where it's. Go ahead.
Excuse me, but if you look, what we did too is we looked at 5-mile concentric circles, overlaying the city's city limits. And if you look, our parks come straight down from north to south. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the way it's developed to the west, you overlay that circle, that's exactly where that falls. And here's an interesting statistic, I think, that I went back and looked, and of course, one of the things we're really short on is athletic fields, ball fields, for baseball and softball. It was 2000 when we opened Barfield Crescent Park. That was the last really baseball, softball facility that we had. The town, and I've got the numbers here, the city in 2000 was 68,816. In the 2000 census, it was 108,755.
2010. Yeah.
If you take the difference between the two, that's 39,939. And the size of that, if you want to make a comparison that makes sense, the town of Smyrna is 39,974. So we have grown the size of the town of Smyrna in that 10 years and have continued to grow. And that's why you see our leagues becoming more creative with their schedules. You see the length of the season getting longer, the impact to the facilities getting more, and it's showing. And
the only comment I want to piggyback on that, and Mr. Goodwin knows where I'm going with this. Been out at Barfield Park since Tuesday. Last year, the BPA World Series was in Chattanooga. So, there's a lot of the teams from Middle Tennessee that went, and we got to spend an expensive week in Chattanooga playing 8-year-old baseball. And this year, there's 138 teams from around the Tennessee and the Southeast. So if you figure that's roughly 1,600 kids that are here this week. So you figure that each kid brings 2 parents, which, being the coach of a team, I know there's many vocal grandparents that come to these games. So, just doing quick math, you've got 6,000 plus people who are here this week for a baseball tournament. And they are stretched at Barfield, at McKnight Park. They're using Middle Tennessee Christian's fields. They're just everywhere. So I don't know what the quantifiable number is, but there has got to be an impact to our local economy with people coming in, spending the night, buying food, buying gas, and they're going to our parks and recreation facilities. And the great thing is they go home, and we don't have to educate them, and so that's sort of
and just to add to that, Mr. McFarland, we were looking toward next year, and we've had inquiries from the chamber through the CVB, and we've had to turn down tournaments because we are just maxed. We just turned down $1.5 million impact tournament.
And I think that's the thing. Although I know that these parks and recreation facilities have a cost, you look at Siegel Soccer Complex that was originally a $13 million complex.
Correct.
And you look at the revenue that has generated with the soccer tournaments that have been out there, and it's just off the chart. So, anyway, I'm probably tired from bringing down the ball field all day today, but
Well, I might mention, and some of us are older, Mr. Young, you and I are seasoned veterans, but we remember how the city really took it on the chin when we acquired McKnight, because there were a number of people who did not want us to acquire that farm. And, of course, it's a fire hall, and it's a ball fields, and it is a tremendous facility with Sportscom, which was well ahead of its time 26 years ago when it was built. And there's always going to be discussion about whether you need to acquire parks, but I think we have all been very proud of our, certainly our Parks and Recreation Department, our commission, the way they treat us, how they maintain those parks. They are sources of pride. When we have visitors who come here, they are in tremendous condition and great shape. And what I think he's asking us to do is to make sure that we don't have conflicts where we run out of space. I mean, all of us can look at Oakland's and the way the Murfreesboro Housing Authority built right up next to what Oakland's park was, and in some ways that diminishes it. Many of us remember Stones River Country Club was a 9-hole course. If they'd have just gone on and bought another 100 acres when they built the 9-hole, they would have not had to wait all those years and pay for it and be hemmed in on the property that they have. I mean, I think it makes all the sense in the world. And we've seen, I think, how many acres, 1,100 acres that we have in parks?
It's a little over 1,100 acres.
1,100 acres. And that may sound like a large number, but when you have a community that's growing and amenities, it makes all the sense in the world. And I hope our residents understand that we want to maintain that type of green space and those ball fields and those recreation opportunities, because when people come to Kids Castle, which was an addition to that park, I mean, it just makes a huge difference. So I struggle myself with spending a lot of money, but and some people, including my wife, know I'm tight as a tick sometimes, but it just makes a difference for the future. And I can't imagine where we'd be without McKnight Park and Sportscom and what we've had for those many years since, I guess, the mid-'60s when that property was acquired, what it's meant to the city.
It was right in 1970, and
yeah.
You go back and look at the record, and it was exactly what you said. There was a lot of people that were vocal, asking why the city was going that far outside of the city limits.
Why in the world? Yeah, that's exactly right. So,
well, I would say if you want to see how these recreational facilities are being used, this week's a good week to come out and see how many kids are out there, and not only the economic benefit that is generated, but the invaluable benefit that you see where these kids are on ball fields. And if they're not on the if they're on the ball fields, then we know they're not causing trouble somewhere else, and they're learning a lot of things.
Nor are you if you're out there on those ball fields.
That would be
good, excellent point.
That would be debatable.
Well made, very good, Vice Mayor.
Well, I can't add anything to all the comments made, but on top of the revenue that's going to go on forever. That revenue stream will go on forever as we grow and prosper. You know, the projections about how large the county is supposed to be. But remember, all of these amenities that we're providing are not just for our citizens, they're for every person in this county and probably beyond. You're talking about all the way to Eagle. You put something on the west side of town, and we don't discriminate. County residents use our facilities just like our residents do. So it becomes an amenity for a lot of other folks.
All right, you have this motion by Mr. Young and second by Mr. Gillies. Any other comments? If not, Ms. Wright, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
Aye.
Mayor and members of the City Council, the fifth item is our new health initiative. We call them Downtown in Motion. I'd like to introduce Ms. Deborah Pascal and Mr. Nate Williams. Ms. Pascal is really kind of the, I guess you would say, the brainchild of this. She'll give me some credit, but I really kind of give her all of the credit. But it's a new health initiative. One of the things that we've talked about is how we can get citizens out and get them more active and create a healthier community. And how can we draw people to our downtown area? We have about 14,000 people that visit our downtown area daily, and they've done some tremendous work. So without stealing their thunder, I'd like to yield the podium to Ms. Pascal and Mr. Williams, and they have a brief presentation for you.
Excellent. Welcome, Ms. Pascal, and Mr. Williams, too. I don't see how all of you maintain all this hair with all these people coming in using our ball fields and all of the work that has to be done to make sure those things go off smoothly. But my compliments to you for that. Go ahead.
Okay, Downtown in Motion. As Lanny said, Downtown in Motion is a health initiative of Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation. The project has been funded by a $10,000 grant from the Tennessee Department of Health. The goal has been to educate the community of the dangers of type 2 diabetes, how everyone is at risk, and how this disease may be prevented by simply walking 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, or for 2 15-minute walks per day for 5 days a week. The project meets the goal and mission of both the city and the Parks and Recreation Department, enhancing the quality of life. Numerous partnerships supported this project, including various city departments, county departments, Rutherford County Health Department and the State Health Department, business owners, and the Only Downtown Business Association, Main Street Association, and just numerous individuals. Several publications were used to educate the community about the dangers of type 2 diabetes. And these publications have been used as well as for education, as well as to provide a map showing measured routes for walking in the downtown area. These educational pieces are still being distributed, and the message of how to prevent and how to fight type 2 diabetes will continue into the fall months. Here's a closer look at how the downtown streets were measured and presented as walking maps. These maps can assist walkers with timing their walks during their daily lunch break, for example, or after workouts. A web page on the city's new website has been designated to the Downtown in Motion project. The maps are available there, and additional information will be added to the project as it continues to grow. The project has been designed to be a sustainable to be sustainable as a new venue for parks and recreation programs. The project has also been designed to encourage employers to coordinate employee challenges with incentives to improve their personal health while reducing their chances for developing type 2 diabetes. There are numerous possibilities for expanding this project into the future, including special events and various recreation programs and activities. Residents and businesses are encouraged to use this program as a community venue by initiating activities on their own. The Parks and Recreation staff will continue to offer seasonal programs and provide fitness opportunities for the downtown neighborhood and overall community. We hope to expand into having a smartphone application that will supply more information to the public, but in the meantime, walkers can use the smartphone's QR code to link to the Downtown in Motion webpage for map copies and various information. Others may go directly to the website or go to www.murfreesborotn.gov/downtowninmotion. We had some we have a presentation that will be coming up in just a few minutes, where we are pleased to debut a 60-second video promoting Downtown in Motion and the importance of fighting type 2 diabetes. We had, finally, I want to include that we had on June 27th from 11 to 2 p.m., we conducted a program targeting the downtown business community. 351 people visited our tent during that 3-hour period that we were located on the square. And signatures were exchanged for promotional items and educational material. And it was just really exciting to see the reception that we got and how what enthusiasm we had for the folks that were there, that were interested in the maps and wanting to take part in the Downtown in Motion activities. Tomorrow, we considered that event on June 27th as a soft opening, and it was targeted just for the downtown area. But tomorrow we will release the information to the media in the city, county, and perhaps regionally to promote our beautiful downtown and how everyone can enjoy this beautiful neighborhood while walking and fighting to prevent type 2 diabetes. Okay, now Mr. Michael Neville is going to cue a 60-minute video for us, or 60-second video for us, and that video will be he filmed and edited this video. He's done a terrific job. It's going to be trimmed down to 30 seconds, and it will be used on various Comcast cable channels as a spotlight feature. And we're just really excited. If you see this on any of the Facebook or any of the YouTube channels or any of the social media out there, we encourage you to pass it along and spread the word about our great downtown and all the activities and possibilities that we are creating through the Downtown in Motion project. Okay, we'll answer questions after the video. Are there any questions?
You mentioned type 2 diabetes more than my doctor did at the last
Well, it is a serious
physical I
issue.
had, but you're exactly right. If there's healthcare providers certainly are concerned about that, and early on understanding of that it certainly will make a difference later on. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and council members may have some comments or other things that they'd like to mention about this program. This was started with a grant, is that correct?
Yes, sir. It was a Project Diabetes grant with the Tennessee Department of Health, and we saw the opportunity of working with the adults. We had done previous grants with youth, and we felt like this would be a good opportunity to serve our community, and especially in the downtown area. And but we want to encourage everybody from all over town to come in and enjoy the downtown area as well. The downtown has a great ambiance. If you haven't been down there in a while, it's just terrific. And it's a great place to walk and sightsee and window shop, and just really, really special. So we felt like with the department, Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Department, that we have a responsibility to our constituents to provide as many health educational programs as possible.
Well, it's excellent. As adults, we do need reminding and sometimes supervision, so I think that really is very helpful to all of us. Any other comment?
I will caution people about the yellow route. I tried it last Saturday morning, and I started out down by Rooster's Barbecue, and then I went by the City Cafe and the Burrowtown Cakes and Maple Street Grill, and then there was Marina's, and I only gained 4 pounds on the route. So, but no, seriously, it is a great thing, and we certainly encourage everybody to participate.
Well, thank you. And we do hope that the restaurants and the merchants and all are going to get into the fitness and healthier menu items, and still offer that good barbecue and all that good unhealthy stuff as well. But we certainly hope they offer more and more healthy choices.
Very good. Thanks for the presentation, and appreciate your hard work.
Thank you.
All right, to go from the healthy choices to beer permits. Good idea. Ms. Wright, do we have any beer permit applications?
As a matter of fact, we have one. We have a restaurant coming to 714 West Main Street. It has not quite finished its codes inspections yet, but it did complete the beer background information we needed. So we'd like permission to issue this permit once they have satisfied our codes department.
All right, with those conditions, is there a motion that we accept this beer permit application?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gilly and Mr. Young, please call the roll on the beer permit application.
Mr. Gilly?
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris?
Aye.
Mr. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mayor Bragg?
Aye. You have before you a list of the statements to be considered for payment. Any questions regarding any of those bills that are listed, or is there a motion to pay the bills?
Move to pay the bills.
Second.
Mr. Young, Mr. Washington, thank you very much. Please call the roll.
Mr. Gilly?
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris?
Aye.
Mr. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mayor Bragg?
Aye. No board and commission appointments. Any other business from the council or from staff to come before the council?
Mr. Lilly has something.
Mr. Lilly.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I come before you wanting to request your approval to upgrade the bandwidth for our citywide buildings. We're currently using a 10 megabit circuit, and that was purchased around I think it's May of 2008, so it's about 5 years old. Since then, dependency on the internet has increased through different factors such as growth and just more dependency, more technology in the buildings. And so right now we're at an average of about 70% utilization during business hours, which is considered a full load. Around peak hours, which would be first thing in the morning, 8 o'clock, 1 p.m. when everyone kind of returns from lunch, and also at the end of the day, we're seeing a 90 to 100% utilization. During 100% utilization, we're looking at network slowness and possible data loss. That would be denial of service, such as you try to go to a website and you get that 404 error where it doesn't come up and you keep having to refresh. And so we are running into some inefficiencies with what we currently have. Now that we're in 2013, bandwidth is actually a lot cheaper. We're looking at what we're recommending is that we increase our bandwidth to 100 megabit per second circuit. That would be valued at about $1,800 a month. We are currently budgeted for $1,800 a month, so I'm asking for your approval to look into upgrading our bandwidth.
So you double the price, is that what you're saying, from for the 10 to 100, it's $1,800 additional dollars a month?
No. It's the same amount, $1,800. It's what's budgeted.
Sounds like a good deal for a bandwidth stretcher.
If no further comments, I move that we go with the recommendation from Mr. Lilly.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Harris, Mr. McFarland, please call the roll.
Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland. Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Lilly.
Thank you.
Anything else?
One thing, Mayor, the Uncle Dave Macon Days was about a week ago, and we wrapped it up. Congratulations to Nate Williams and the Parks and Rec for doing such a good job of having everything planned for us. And we had about 15,000 people come out on Friday, which was a record for us. And from what I understand, Saturday night we'd had 49,000 paid attendance. So we asked at one point during the Ricky Skaggs concert how many people that were there were from outside of Rutherford County, and almost half the people in the audience raised their hands. So again, we were talking earlier about the impact that Parks and Rec have on the city of Murfreesboro, and a wonderful job done by the Parks and Rec Department of having the facility available to us, and thank you for their support.
Thank you, and congratulations. Vice Mayor?
I will be brief. I'll try to be. This summer at the Tennessee Municipal League Annual Conference, they give on the final day out a bunch of awards. And now one of my favorite ones is Spouse of the Year. And this year the Spouse of the Year was his wife, Jeannie Bragg. So I want the public to know that we really appreciate our spouses, because without them, many of us would not be here. They put up with us. They allow us to serve. And mine tells me every time when I say something stupid when I get home. So congratulations, Mayor and Jeannie.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Jeannie, we're
Yours does that
surprised,
too?
very happy, and I appreciate
Did we
it.
marry sisters?
Very kind. Anything else? You're adjourned. Thanks, Vice Mayor.